Philadelphia veterans report for training camp on July 25th at NovaCare Complex in Philadelphia as the Eagles prepare to defend their first Super Bowl championship. We'll find out if they have the right new personnel to keep things fresh, including an in-depth look at their roster as we preview training camp for the world champion Philadelphia Eagles by going one-on-one with Justin Grasso, co-editor for Inside the Eagles at Fansided on the OFN Meeting Room with Greg DePalma. It's Thursday, July 19th, 2018. I'm Greg DePalma. Thanks for tuning in to the OFN Meeting Room as we continue to preview NFL training camps for the 2018 season. And the days are numbered. Matter of fact, Hall of Fame game is coming up in a few weeks. The Bears and the Ravens are already getting ready as far as camp is concerned. So the fans there, I'm sure, are getting excited for the Bears and Ravens. But here it's time for us to talk Eagles football, and we're going to do that with the co-editor for Inside the Eagles at Fansided, Justin Grasso. Justin, thanks for helping us talk Philadelphia Eagles football.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
All right, Justin, excited to have you on. And I got to start off by asking you, what's the deal with the Eagles connotation in the title of your website?
I couldn't explain it to you, because I pronounce it regular, but in Philadelphia we have a bit of an accent that you might be able to tell with my voice, but some people seem to say Eagles, apparently. I don't get it.
You mean it's supposed to actually sound like Eagles, even though it's spelled Eagles?
Yeah, well, they'll be like, how about the Eagles?
I got it. Okay, so that's kind of what it is. So it's but you got to live in Philly to really get it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay. I mean, I knew there was a story to it that had nothing to do with anything outside of Philadelphia. So
it has nothing to do with football.
Okay. Now, how long have you been covering the team, and are you a fan? You've been a fan for the Eagles?
Absolutely. Been a fan all my life. I've been covering the Eagles probably about a year and a half now.
Oh, wow.
So it's been an exciting season for sure to cover it for the first time.
So last year was your first year?
Yeah, last year was my first year.
Wow. How about that?
I started covering in the springtime of last year. So
year
going into the season, you had no idea that was going to happen, but
well,
I'll tell you what, it was great.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope not.
So, no, I'm sure if things go well, Doug Peterson's around for a long time, and so is Carson Wentz. There'll be more. So how, as a fan, I mean, how did it feel to finally win a Super Bowl?
I'll be honest, I had tears in my eyes.
I'm not surprised. I think I will too.
we were starved for sure, and you didn't expect it. Nobody expected. Everyone said that, they could potentially be the last in the NFC East, and then we come out and just have this incredible season with all the injuries. I mean, by week 13, everybody counted us out. Once Wentz went down, it was like,
yes,
this team's not doing anything. And then that happened.
Yeah, that was the injuries. I got to tell you, I mean, last year on my show, the Eagles were one of my playoff teams. I think it was maybe week 6 or something like that. I had picked them to win the Super Bowl. They were my team. I was that because I really saw what they did the year before when they had so many like weird losses and close games, and you can kind of tell that with the inexperience of quarterback and head coach that it was a learning process. And that they were getting close, and next year would be a much bigger year. And then they got off to such a good start, but then the injuries happened, and then, of course, Nick Foles' injury. And even I was like, okay, well, at least I have my investment in, where I had it, but I'm not going to be investing any more money on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl now. But at least I did have it in, and I was able to bankroll it at the end, even though I was like everyone else and didn't expect a Super Bowl championship, especially with the way Nick looked in the regular season. I mean, that was the thing that really sealed it, not just the fact that Carson went down, was how Nick looked in when he came in and replaced him in the regular season. It was like, okay, well, this isn't going to last very long.
Yeah, when Foles came in, it was very clear that they expected him to come in and play like Carson Wentz, and we all know that Nick Foles is not Carson Wentz.
Yes.
But, I mean, that's why we praised Doug Peterson so much, was the adjustments that he went back and looked at what worked for Nick Foles back when he had that successful season with Chip Kelly, and he reworked the offense a little bit. And I think it played in our favor even more because teams had no game film on this guy. I mean, the last time he played a full season was with us in like 2013.
True.
So teams didn't know how to prepare for the Eagles, and then they came in looking like a completely different team in the playoffs, and that just really played in our favor.
Yeah, and that's a benefit also to being able to have the extra couple of weeks for him to prepare. And that is something that we talked about last year, that if the Eagles were going to have any success, then that was going to have to be the game plan, and apparently it was, and tremendous Super Bowl win. So now comes training camp as defending champs. So I know you haven't been working the beat very long, but have you already heard, talk to people, or just even as a fan, from what you gather over the years, the difference in the attitude or the pressure as far as going into this training camp as defending champs?
I have to be honest, it doesn't feel any different. Maybe for the players it's the same, but for everyone outside, I think everyone's kind of like, they don't believe it still that it happened. And I think the players kind of had that same mentality where it's like, they don't even really remember that happening because it didn't seem real. So now they're kind of just going into the season like, it's just another year. Let's get there again. And I think everyone's pretty motivated. I mean, this team's tight. Part of, a lot of their success came from how close they are as a team and how motivated they just want to prove everybody wrong. And I think even though they won't be the underdogs heading into the season, I think they still have that mentality in the back of their head.
Do you think some of it also might have to do with the fact that that Carson Wentz didn't win the Super Bowl as the starting quarterback, and it's almost like, okay, well, let's just go do this again with a different quarterback, with our franchise quarterback, and that is a benefit. There is no question about that. The fact that you got the most motivated guy on the roster to win his own Super Bowl on the field and have it be your leader and your quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Carson Wentz, he's an incredible competitor, and, it killed him standing on the sidelines and not being able to play in that game. So he's definitely going to come back with a chip on his shoulder. Then you have guys like Jason Peters, Darren Sproles. I mean, they're veterans who, got their first ring, but
that's right,
they want to actually be out on the field and do it themselves. So I definitely think that that's going to be huge for the Eagles this upcoming season.
All right, and as far as interesting players to keep, as far as changes, Torrey Smith, of course, is gone. So that was just like a trade that just didn't work out because Darryl Worley wound up getting cut. But Blunt is gone, Curry's gone, Allen's gone, Patrick Robinson, the punter, retired. Is Robinson the biggest loss, or you tell me? Out of all the players that are gone, which one's the biggest loss?
I'd probably agree with Patrick Robinson. I mean, he had a great season, and he was almost going to get cut in August. So I definitely think that that's a big loss, and that kind of, with him gone, that makes the nickel cornerback position probably the most intriguing battle heading into the season, which is a great problem to have. But it's definitely a big loss that he's gone. I don't think Vinny Curry being gone is, as big as a hit to the defense, considering that they got Michael Bennett now.
Sure.
But another one that nobody really thinks about is Bo Allen because of the way the Eagles rotate their defensive line in. I mean, they did pick up Haloti Ngata, but with the injury with Timmy Jernigan, you could use Bo Allen right now.
Yeah, what's his status, Jernigan?
Jernigan is probably looking 4 to 6 months.
Okay, so we're not going to see. So right now we're looking at maybe he could be back by midseason.
Yeah, but I mean they almost cut Jernigan. That's how serious that injury.
Okay.
Yeah, because they re-signed him midseason, and then they kind of had some buyer's remorse there.
Okay, and that then definitely is just, and we could even start with the defense and defensive line, then, especially inside the interior there. Does that make that spot right now the biggest or one of the big questions? Again, Nada is going to play, but to keep him fresh at his age, he's not going to play an awful lot. But there's not a lot of experience alongside Fletcher Cox if you take Nada out of the equation.
Yeah, I definitely think Cox is going to have to step up and play a bigger role this year, which, I mean, he should anyway. But, I mean, just the way Jim Schwartz likes to rotate that line in and out, that's partly why the Eagles were so successful. But, I mean, this year there's no excuses for it. He has to go out there and he has to just play consistently all throughout the season with Jernigan out. I mean, with Nada, he only played 5 games last year. So,
yep.
It's tough to know if he's actually going to be healthy or not.
Give me a player that we don't really know about, because there are a couple of guys that right now look like they could be getting significant playing time that are not household names. Is there a player that is a cut above talent-wise that could surprise?
I'd say Destiny Veo, probably.
Okay.
He came here in 2016. I wouldn't bank on him big time, but he definitely is someone to watch during training camp who could come in and, pick up the slack of missing Jernigan.
And is that a position where you might actually even upgrade during camp? Cuts, things of that nature, you think? Or you think they're happy with what they have?
I think they're probably happy with what they have. I think if anything, if they make any big changes in training camp on the defense, it'll probably be at the safety position.
Okay, yeah, that was another one that I was going to get into as far as depth, because once you get past McLeod and Jenkins, there's the drop-off. And,
yeah.
I mean, I'm intrigued by Jeremy Reeves, rookie free agent.
I love Jeremy Reeves.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
So you think he's going to get playing time?
I think Jeremy Reeves is probably the next Rodney McLeod. I think they have the same playing style. They're both hard hitters. They're both undrafted. So I think this is a perfect situation for Jeremy Reeves.
All right, and then you take a look now. The corner position doesn't have any depth issues. You got Darby, you got Mills. Of course, it's going to be a big help if Sidney Jones plays the whole year. Maddox comes in. Now, is Maddox going to try to play nickel? Is he going to compete for that spot? Or is there somebody right now that definitely has the number one nickel spot to replace Patrick Robinson?
I wouldn't say that there's anyone in the number one spot. Eagles said that they were going to try everybody out that position. Originally, everybody thought Jalen Mills would get moved in.
Okay.
But he had a great season on the outside, so why move him out?
Sure.
Or why move him in, I mean. So right now, it just looks like it's going to be Sidney Jones, Avonte Maddox, and Devontae Ballsby, who I think his last team was Chicago, I believe. So he played for Kansas City and Chicago.
Okay.
So Ballsby actually had a pretty good OTA session. Again, it's OTA, so, that only means so much. But heading into training camp, it looks like as long as Sidney Jones is kind of iffy with his health, it looks like Ballsby could possibly be like another Patrick Robinson who, comes in and everyone thinks he's going to get cut and he's just a camp body, and then he actually has a big season. So that's really what the battle is Jones and Ballsby. I think Maddox is probably going to take a little bit of time before he even has to really get thrown into the fire at all.
Okay.
But he's definitely a work in progress.
And Sidney Jones is the most talented. I mean, he was a second-round draft pick last year. Only played, he played one regular season game?
He played, it was about a half.
Yeah. So, this is a big camp for him then, right? I mean, he's healthy. There's no holding him back. He's ready to go out there and compete.
Right. And, I mean, again, he just has that one issue where it's all his injuries. I mean, even when he came in and played for that game, it was week 17, he left with an injury, and it had nothing to do with his Achilles. So as long as he keeps getting hurt, I mean, it's a problem. I mean, he's very talented. It's just a matter of staying healthy for him.
All right, and then we take a look at the linebacking situation and Hicks. I'm a big Hicks fan. And then you have Bradham, who had a nice season last season. and that might have been a little bit of a surprise. I didn't expect him to play that well for the Eagles, but sometimes you make a switch to another team, and things just work out. Warlow's hurt, so tell me a little bit about how right now Hicks, Bradham, and who?
Hicks, Bradham, and probably Corey Nelson, I'm guessing.
Okay.
But Nathan Jerry, who he was a rookie last year, he's actually having a pretty solid offseason so far. And, I mean, even Bradham talked him up and said, he's become like a veteran leader in the locker room. He's only in year 2. He hardly played last season. So looking at it with Corey Nelson coming off of a pretty significant injury from last season, I mean, that position, either, one or the other, you can't really even tell right now.
Okay. And as far as Kendricks being off the team, he always seemed to be a very inconsistent player for the Eagles until last year. He seemed to have his best season, but now he's gone. So right. Is he going to be a big loss, and why?
I definitely think that, you lose that security for sure. And I wouldn't say that the Eagles are really bad now at linebacker, but it's kind of scary right now looking at it, because if Corey Nelson comes in and gets injured from his injury history, and then Jerry doesn't actually play up to his potential, and then say Hicks gets hurt.
Yeah, he's got an injury history too.
Yeah, we're back on that road last year where you're bringing in guys like Donnell Ellerby and I don't even remember who they brought in, because Joe Walker ended up getting hurt, and it was just crazy. I mean, it all worked out because Bradham and Kendricks just completely took over, but you lose Kendricks, and now it's like, okay, so you have Bradham and you have Hicks, but if Hicks goes down, Bradham can't play the whole position himself.
Yeah. And Hicks, to me, that must be what because Hicks didn't have a very good season last season. Once again, missed time. I don't know. Maybe if he stays healthy this season, from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, he could look more like the player he looked like he was going to become very early on in his Eagle career before the first injury, because he sure looked like he was going to take off and be a heck of a player, and then all of a sudden the injury started to happen. Yeah,
for sure. He was putting up Pro Bowl numbers, but he just, again, went down early. It was before the bye week even happened, and he was dealing with that injury before that. I think it was like 2 weeks before that. He said that he felt it, and it just finally popped in the game, his Achilles, and then it was, here we go again with Jordan Hicks being injured. So he's definitely, he's looking to have a big season because this is his contract year, and he definitely wants some security from the Eagles. But, if he doesn't go out there and play a full season, then, he's probably not on the team beyond this season.
And is he going to be okay to begin training camp?
It looks like it.
Okay.
He started playing, I think he was doing, full-time practicing in OTA, so he should be good to go.
All right. And the defensive line, we talked about defensive tackles, but the defensive end group is probably the strength of the defense, right? With Graham and Barnett, and Bennett comes in free agency. You've got Long as a veteran, and I'm very intrigued by the rookies, especially Josh Sweat, who I think is a great story. What he accomplished after the injury in high school as a senior, and being able to still play football as a freshman at Florida State, and he's got edge rushing ability. So he especially when you only draft 5 players, and we know the 2 linemen ain't going to do much. So Sweat's going to be a guy that could wind up contributing just as much as any rookie, right?
Right. I think that the Eagles probably got one of the better values in that draft with Josh Sweat, because everybody shied away from him from an injury from high school, but he didn't have much injury history in college. So bringing him on is just, so far he looks good in practice. And you saw what they did with Barnett last year. Barnett, where he was drafted, you expect that guy to come in and be your starter and be your star, and he didn't have to do that. And it's kind of the same situation for Sweat.
Yeah, and again, the defense, Schwartz likes to rest guys and have enough bodies, and that's why we're probably going to see him get significant snaps as long as he stays healthy and looks the part. And I'm also intrigued by Joe Osman. You know, he had a very successful college career. Now, I don't know if he makes the team because they're so deep, but he could be intriguing. I don't know. Maybe he does make the team or at least the practice squad.
Yeah, I'd say probably practice squad for now. I think right now it's just the defensive end position is just so deep.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised that Chris Long even came back because I'm thinking, he played his career. He's probably done. And he's probably looking at it. You know, Michael Bennett comes on the team now, and Barnett's going to get more snaps. But I mean, even with Chris Long back, he was huge last season. So I think for a young guy that's not Josh Sweat, it's probably tough to make this team.
All right, on the offensive line, if Peters and Johnson, and if they do their job, especially with Peters coming back from the injury, we know that's one of the top tandems, if not the top tackle tandems in football. And overall, the guard tandem is also very strong. And then you've got, a top center. This might be the best offensive line in football. So it's just a matter of staying healthy. And how is Jason Peters going right now? Because we are talking about a 36-year-old coming off an ACL injury.
I'll tell you what. I wouldn't even think that Jason Peters is over 25 years old. This guy, I mean, you probably don't follow him on Instagram. I'm sure a lot of Eagles fans do. If you follow him on Instagram and you just see the way this guy works, I mean, you wouldn't even think he's coming off that kind of injury. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's going to be big, but hey, they were able to win without him. And talk about the depth on the offensive line. Again, they did draft a couple of guys, but to me, I mean, those guys are definitely projects. So is there somebody like who's their top lineman, top backup lineman?
Top back, I mean, it's definitely Vaitai. What he did last season, I mean, he came in and he struggled a little bit, but just knowing that they can protect the quarterback and make it as far as they did with Vaitai in there. I mean, just knowing that you have him at backup and he's able to switch on either side of the line. Like, everyone expected Lane Johnson to move to the left side.
Yep.
And they put Vaitai in the right. No, keep Johnson where he's at, and Vaitai will go learn. And I mean, that showed a lot. And I think Vaitai is definitely the answer long term when Peters is gone.
Okay. Let's talk about the skill position then. And again, we started with the quarterbacks. So let me ask you, best guess on whether you think Carson Wentz will start week 1.
It's tough. I'm going to say no. I think he is going to probably miss at least 1 or 2 games. I just think that, he looks good. I'll say that. But I just think, they're going to play it as safe as possible. You can't risk having like a Sam Bradford type deal here, or RG3 is what everyone says. I just think that it's probably better that the Eagles don't try to rush him in there week 1.
Now, why do you think, though, because, and look, I understand your answer. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who believe that it's a good possibility he's not going to start week 1, but why do you think that? When I look at it, I say, okay, well, what's the difference between starting week 1 and week 3 when you've been out for 8 months or something like? I mean, do we really need to wait a week? So I can understand, hey, you know what? He might miss 4 weeks. He might miss 5. But why do you think that's possible? I mean, is there a reason for that he might not make it week 1 or maybe week 2? But, yeah, week 3, I'd be surprised if he wasn't out there. Why not just get him out there week 1?
I think it's probably more of he needs to get back in the shape, like football shape. They did this with Ronald Darby last season. He was supposed to come back, I think it was like a 6-week time frame.
Okay.
And he didn't come back until probably week 11, I think it was. And even then, he was struggling, staying in shape. And he didn't look like himself when, he first came back.
Okay.
And I think that they kind of have that in their heads where it's like, we need to make sure that Carson Wentz is 100% when he comes back, not just health-wise, but in shape-wise as well.
And what about preseason?
He already made it pretty clear that he's probably not going to play in preseason.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So the first time we're going to see Carson Wentz play will be regular season at some point, and you're thinking what? Maybe week 2 or week 3?
I'm thinking probably, week 2 or 3. I'm not sure. I can't give you a definite answer there.
That's okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. And there's not going to be any issues. I mean, if the Eagles start 2-0 or 3-0, it's just everybody is just Wentz when he's ready. He's ready. This is Wentz's team, obviously, right? There's no controversy.
Yeah, there's no quarterback controversy. I was a little bit worried maybe if Carson goes in and he struggles a little bit, and then the fans kind of. These are Philadelphia fans we're talking about.
That is true.
They might pull out the booze, put the Super Bowl MVP in, but I don't know. I think Eagles fans, they love this guy, so I don't think there's going to be any issue there.
Is Nate Sudfeld going to be the number 2 quarterback next year?
I believe so. I think that Nick Foles he's gonna find himself at least. He's going to attempt a starting position. I don't know if he'll get it, but I think he's probably gone after this year.
And is that something that the Eagles are happy? Are as far as are they good with that? As far as Sudfeld, they feel confident that by 2019 he would be a very good backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean they were talking Sudfeld up before Foles even went in, and when Foles was doing bad, everybody's calling for Sudfeld, and they made it clear that they were confident if Foles goes down or if Foles really does that bad, they're going to put Sudfeld in. And, we got a little preview of him, and he wasn't bad. I mean, they didn't score any points, but you could tell he was definitely a lot better than what he was in the preseason when he was with the Redskins. So I definitely think that he's definitely someone to look for in the preseason since he'll get plenty of playing time.
Okay.
And I think that, his coaches said they think he could be a starter in this league in the future. So they're definitely high on Sudfeld as a backup.
All right, the running backs. Is this Jay Ajayi's last season with Philly? Because they do have a lot of players to pay after the season. The cap is almost at 0. So do you think Jay Ajayi will be gone one more season? They do have a very deep stable of running backs. This might be the deepest stable of running backs in the NFL. And they were able to get Josh Adams as a free agent, as a rookie. I mean, I can't believe he didn't get drafted.
Yeah, I was the same way. But, I think Jay Ajayi is probably his last season on the Eagles. I just think, he's a good running back. He's definitely a workhorse. I just think that he's the type of guy where he needs at least 20, 25 carries a game, and the Eagles just aren't that team to do that. They're not going to give that to him. So I think when they made that move last season, it was definitely, that was a steal of a trade, but it was a win-now kind of move.
Sure.
And I think, they'll definitely take advantage of him this season, but they're not going to be able to afford him. I mean, going into next offseason, we're looking at Ajayi being a free agent, Brandon Graham, Ronald Darby. So, there's other positions they have to take care of, and I don't think they value running back that much.
Hey, with the running back depth that you got, why would you? The only thing I don't see is if Ajayi does have a successful season, then that would be 2 years in a row of having good, more power-type runners that would not be on the roster unless they value Adams that way. And he has a successful rookie campaign of some sort, even though he's not the type of real physical guy that I believe, of course, that Ajayi or LeGarrette Blount were for the team. But the depth is there. So does Ajayi basically take over as far as the percentage of snaps that Blount had last year? Like he becomes the number 1 guy, and then what? Clement maybe the number 2?
Yeah, Ajayi is definitely going to be, your workhorse, and then Clement will definitely get a lot of snaps. Clement's turned into basically their red zone and their third down guy. And, they love Corey Clement, and that's another reason why I believe that it's probably Ajayi's last season, because I think, they struck gold with signing Clement as a free agent. And I think that they probably think they can do the same thing with Josh Adams. It's just a matter of staying healthy for him.
Okay, and Sproles, he's getting up there in age, and you've got a couple other running backs that are very similar to him in Smallwood and Pumphrey. So how's that going to work out? And who do you think has got better shelf life as far as with the roster moving forward, Smallwood or Pumphrey?
I think as long as Josh Adams comes in and shows enough to make this team, I think that they could both potentially get cut.
Oh.
And they don't like Smallwood. That's
really
pretty clear.
Okay.
I mean, once they brought Ajayi onto the team, he was, inactive every single week except for the last week. So I think Smallwood's he's probably gone. And then I think with Pumphrey, I mean, his issue is also staying healthy. I mean, he had a very underwhelming preseason last year. And I think basically as soon as Clement showed that he can do what he does, I think they just kind of forgot about Pumphrey, and it was kind of like, all right, well, if he works out, he does. If he doesn't, then, it's nothing. We have Corey Clement.
Okay. Well, again,
I want to mention a sleeper, too, here, running backs, as we're talking about losing LeGarrette Blount. And I've been pretty vocal about this. I think that Matt Jones actually might surprise some people in the preseason.
Now, why is that? Because when he first started out with the Redskins, and I remember his days in college, he looked like, hey, you know what? This might be one of those typical non-early round running backs, first round running backs that actually makes it. Then all of a sudden, whether through injuries or poor play, whatever, he just completely confidence disappeared, and we haven't seen anything really of him for a couple of years. So what's changed? What is it about that you've seen in Matt Jones? Because we know he's got the talent. What exactly has he done to turn it on to make it look like maybe he could be that guy that he looked like when he first came out of college?
Well, the two things that we're looking forward to here is, one, the running backs coach, Deuce Staley, definitely is one to get the best out of running backs. I mean, you see guys like Kenyon Barner, who, he's been to Carolina, he's been to San Diego, and he hasn't really done anything there. And then he comes here in the Philly, and you think he's just a punt returner, but he's not. They get the best out of him. So I just think that, the coaching is definitely one thing, and then you come in and you have the best offensive line in the league.
True. That's true.
So, I mean, you give them, 5 to maybe 10 carries possibly, along with Jay Ajayi. It's just like a 1-2 punch. He's another, big-bodied guy. So I think that Matt Jones is definitely someone to keep your eye on through the preseason.
Yeah, because last year you had 5 guys that got carries, and so you would have Ajayi, Sproles, Clement, Adams, and Jones. You think all 5 could make the team?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are crazy enough to do that again, to keep 5 running backs on the team. I don't know if Jones is definitely a guarantee to make the team, but I think definitely, if he has a good preseason, why get rid of him?
Okay.
I mean, you did 5 last year. You could do it again this year. Why not?
All right, sounds good. And as far as the receivers are concerned, Zach Ertz comes back, and of course he had a very successful season, breakthrough season, especially with this offense. You do lose your one tight end, of course, Burton, but you replace him with Dallas Goedert, who might be the best tight end in the class, and you also picked up Rodgers from Green Bay. So Goddard basically takes over for Burton. How do you think he fits in, or how quickly do you think he fits in? Because we know he's got a lot of talent, but he didn't play at a big Division I school, FBS school, but still the talent's there. He's a complete tight end.
Right. I mean, a couple of years ago I would have said, "Oh, he didn't play at a big school." I don't know, but then I look at Carson Wentz and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not saying it anymore.
Right.
We'll see how it goes. But no, I mean it's. He's a second tight end. The pressure's off. I mean, he's a high draft pick, but no one's expecting him to go out and be, just like Zach Ertz. But I mean, that could happen. Trey Burton was really successful last year, seeing his contract out in Chicago. But again, that's another. Trey Burton was an undrafted guy, and he came in and he was successful in this offense. And I think, skill set wise, I think Goddard is better. And I definitely think that he's going to be a problem when it comes to, in the red zone and whatnot. So I think that was a great draft pick by the Eagles. And I think that, they definitely have one of, if not the best, tight end duo in the league.
And then that's important for a team that loves to throw to their tight ends, so just as much as any. And then you got the wide receiver core, which also looks pretty deep as long as last year's draft picks step up, because Wallace comes in to join Jeffrey and Aguilar, replace Torrey Smith, which I like it. I mean, Torrey Smith really has never kind of relived the seasons that we've seen him from years past. So I'm okay with Wallace coming in. I think that makes him stronger. And again, as long as Hollins or Gibson can step up. And what do you think about that? Because past Jeffrey, Aguilar, and Wallace, who's the top young receiver to keep an eye on?
I'd probably say Matt Collins is. They brought in his wide receivers coach from North Carolina, and they're definitely. I think they're going to look at him and try to make him like the next Alshon Jeffrey. Jeffrey's here for a couple of years, but he's a big guy, so I think that they expect But he's also a dual threat too. I mean, he can beat you deep. That was his one touchdown last year, but I think this year he gets a little bit more snaps, and I think that they definitely look at Hollins as more than just a special teams ace. And as far as Shelton Gibson goes, he's a huge question mark right now. He looked better in OTAs, but again, he's the type of guy who, he'll beat you on the route, but is he going to catch the ball?
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to catch the football, no question about that.
Exactly.
As a receiver, if you're going to make the team. And any sleepers, whether it's Treggs or Greg Ward, the converted quarterback, or they pretty much because if you've got your top four, who do you think has got? If you had to say who is your fifth, who would it be?
If we're going with sleepers, I like Greg Ward. I do like Greg Ward. I think he's just he's still in that awkward situation where he's converting to a wide receiver.
Yes.
I mean, he's athletic. You can't deny that. It's just he's not as polished yet. But I think, if he avoids injuries, because I know he had a few in the offseason that were nagging him, but if he can avoid injuries, I think that Greg Ward is definitely a sleeper.
All right. And any chance for Wheaton possibly? I mean, his career just really disappeared after, a couple of years. So any chance? I mean, I know, or is he just a body in camp?
I'd probably say he's just a body in camp.
Yeah.
I don't really have high expectations for Wheaton. And I think, with the receivers, they don't need as much. I mean, maybe he'll make the team for a couple weeks because who knows if Jeffrey's going to be back in time. He says he will, but, he's another one who's, he had off-season surgery.
Okay.
So, they might need him for depth, but I don't think Wheaton really is on the team for long.
Okay. And as far as special teams, as I mentioned at the beginning, you do have a critical position on the team, punter, and Donnie Jones is retired. So what do we know about Cameron Johnston? And Jake Elliott sure was a big-time pickup. A draft pick from the Bengals. You take him off the Bengals practice squad last year, and
right.
He does well. 5 of 6 from 50-plus. He did miss a few extra points. He's a rookie, though, so you give him the benefit of the doubt. He had a very good college career. When you're a draft pick, you got talent. So I'm sure the Eagles are happy there. But the punting situation, and also, did you going to have a big wide-open battle for the punt and kick return game?
I think, punt return is going to be Darren Sproles for this year at least. I think that's going to be one of their next off-season things that they'll worry about next year, where it's like, all right, well, who's going to be the punt returner?
Okay.
But I think, as long as Sproles is here, why not? He's incredible. But as far as kick return, that's another one that's kind of confusing. You don't really know who's going to be back there. They might throw Corey Clement back there. They might, who knows who they're going to put back. Maybe even Marcus Wheaton. Who knows? But as far as punting goes, Cameron Johnson, it was a pretty tough battle with him and Donnie Jones last year.
Oh, okay.
But you're not going to get rid of Donnie Jones when he's your veteran. So they held on to Jones instead. But once he retired or came back, I don't know what he did. he retired, and then we couldn't have him anymore. It was like, all right, well, Johnson's here, so we're going to use him.
Okay. And so, but is there a possibility the starting punter week 1 for the Eagles is not on the team?
I doubt it. I don't think. I think they're probably comfortable with Johnson.
With Johnson? Okay. All right. And, oh, by the way, Mike Groh takes over offensive coordinator, even though Peterson, of course, runs the offense. So Groh doesn't have a lot of experience either. Was only with the team last year as a, a receiver coach. So what is his job going to be?
I mean, he's just filling in for Frank Reich. I mean, Peterson he made the calls last year, and that's no, diss to Frank Reich. I mean,
sure.
He got his position, he earned it. But I like Groh a lot, and a lot of people complain that Deuce Staley, deserves the position more since he's been here longer. But I think what Groh did with the receivers was incredible. I mean, it was such an upgrade, and I think he's just a real, stern coach that he just knows what he's doing. So I think it's not going to be a huge difference, but I think that they definitely made the right decision making Groh the offensive coordinator.
All right. And hey, I made the right decision in getting you on a preview training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles, Justin. I appreciate it. And I look forward
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I look forward to talking Eagle football with you this season. And hopefully you enjoyed the season every bit as much. And, hey, I know it's a different feeling. Well, not that I know. I mean, I've never remembered my team winning a Super Bowl. I think I was 1 at the time when the Jets won. So I don't know what that means. So I'll be crying, too, when the Jets win their Super Bowl. I can guarantee you that. But enjoy the season, and we look forward to talking Eagles football with you this year.
All right. Thanks, Drake.
Okay, you got it. Thanks, Justin. That's Justin Grasso. And, again, Justin is the co-editor, and I don't have that Eagle accent, so it comes off by me just saying Inside the Eagles. So that's the way it sounds for me. Inside the Eagles at Fansided. And Justin did a great job preparing us for the Philadelphia Eagles defending their Super Bowl championship next week, starting with training camp. And it should be fun following the Eagles just because of that alone. And, of course, Carson Wentz coming back. All right, so that is actually going to wrap it up for the NFC East. So we've already completed training camp previews for every team in the NFC East. We only have 5 more teams remaining before the majority remaining teams kick off training camp middle to end of next week. Arizona, Atlanta, Carolina, the Chargers, and the New York Jets. But, of course, we have our Jet show, so we don't have a problem there. Randy Lang is going to join me on Monday from Jets.com, and he'll be with me all season, hopefully, if he can bear me. Meanwhile, we'll be back tomorrow to preview training camp for the Buffalo Bills. So that's coming up next on the OFN Meeting Room. Training camp previews, Buffalo on Friday. So again, thanks to Justin Grasso for helping us talk Philadelphia Eagles football today. Follow us on Twitter at PrimeSN, as in Sports Network. And don't forget to check back once again tomorrow for more training camp coverage on the OFN Meeting Room with Greg DePalma on the Ourlads Football Radio Network, where it's never too early to think about the start of the 2018 football season.